Okay. And some of these apply and some of these do not apply. And I'll go over them. It says, number 1, do not trust in any power but Yahawah. Exodus chapter 20, verse 3, you know that applies. Number 2, do not make images of the gods to be worshipped. Exodus chapter 20, verse 4, that applies. Number 3, and I'll just say what does not apply. Number 3, do not take on the character of the gods. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 4. Wow, that's a heavy one. A lot of y'all young brothers, even older brothers, watching these Avengers and these superheroes, all of those names that they have are from gods of the past. Okay? And then the character of these gods too is these holidays. Okay, so number 4, do not make gods out of anything. Exodus chapter 23, verse 23. Number 5, do not bow down to any god. Exodus chapter 20, verse 5. Number 6, do not worship, serve, obey, nor follow the ways of the gods. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 15 through 19. Number 7, do not sacrifice children to any god. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21. That happens every year. And the way of sacrificing is celebrating. That's the sacrifice when you celebrate. Number 8, do not seek after or consult mediums, psychics. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. Number 9, do not seek after or consult familiar spirits. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31. You know, Ouija boards, games, video games that are wicked, you know, familiar spirits. Number 10, do not seek to learn the ways of the gods in order to follow them. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 30. Number 11, do not use a sacred pillar or pole for the worship of Yahawah. Do not set the feast by it. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 21 through 22. In other words, don't make a shrine to the Most High, like some of these people do. A lot of the Northern Kingdom, the Latinos do that. Number 12. Or Catholicism does that as well. Islam too. Number 12. Do not make gods out of carved stone. There's Islam. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1. Number 13. Do not worship Asherah, the Queen of Heaven. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 21. Mother's Day, that's the form of Queen of Heaven. Baby showers, that's a form of worshiping the Queen of Heaven. Yeah, all this stuff is wrapped up in these new names, so you don't know. Number 14, do not vow or worship the name of any god. Exodus chapter 23, verse 13. Number 15, do not teach or entice any community to worship gods. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 12 through 14. Number 16, do not teach or entice any individual to worship gods. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 6 through 8. A lot of this stuff is clear and plainly understood. Number 17, do not listen to anyone who teaches or practices God worship. Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. Number 18, do not give in to anyone who teaches or practices God worship. It's just like we just read, Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. Number 19, do not pity anyone who teaches God worship. The same thing, Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. And this is how the laws, basically what the Most High is showing you is that there's many ways to look at these laws. So any way that your mind can try to work a way around this law is not going to work. That's why he's breaking it down this way. Number 20, do not spare anyone who teaches God worship. Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. All of this is pretty much Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. Number 21, do not conceal the fact when someone tries to teach God worship. Deuteronomy 13, verse 8. Number 22, do not lust after the wealth of the gods. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25. Number 23, do not rebuild that which has been devoted to God worship. Deuteronomy 13, verse 16. Number 24, do not make use of any property condemned because of God worship. Do not make use of any property condemned because of God worship. Deuteronomy 13, verse 17. When you buy a foreclosed house, do your homework and your research on it before buying it. That could have been going on in there, as well as somebody dying in that house. Okay, always do your research on if you're trying to purchase a property, a foreclosed property. You never know what happened in there. Ask the neighbors if you can't get any information. Number 26. Do not teach in the name of any other God. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20. Number 27. Do not teach or prophesy falsely in the name of Yahawah. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 20. And companies are that way. Companies do not want a bad representation of their company. Okay? You can't say that I work for such and such and then go out there and do what you want to do. Okay? But you can do what you want to do as long as you don't mention that company. Then you're protected. But as soon as you say, I work for such and such, or I'm this of this place, I hold this title, and then you're doing something else, you're held responsible for that. It's the same way with the Most High. You cannot use the Most High and you're doing such and such. Oh, I'm going to the club, I'm a man of the Most High. No, it doesn't work that way. All right? You're bad representation. Do not teach or prophesy falsely in the name of Yahawah. Deuteronomy 18 and 20. Number 28. Do not listen to one who teaches in the name of any God. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 3 through 4. Number 29. Do not reverence one who teaches in the name of any power or any God. Deuteronomy 18, verse 22. Number 30. Do not imitate the ways of God worshippers or practice their customs. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 23. Number 31. Do not practice foretelling the future by consulting the gods. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 26. Your fortune cookies from your Chinese restaurants, that's not the prophecy of the Most High. That's fortune telling. It's telling you what it is. Fortune cookie. So, I mean, guys, wake up. All these little triggers are fiery darts are all around you. You just got to recognize the signs. Satan is crafty. He knows how to get to your mind. It's all about your mental status. Okay. Number 32, do not practice astrology. Leviticus chapter 19, 26. Now, we didn't worship any of these, but we did practice astronomy. It's different from astrology. Astrology is dealing with the different gods, Pegasus, and all that stuff up in the sky. You know, the way the stars line up, it looks like Zeus and all that crazy stuff. But astronomy is how you plant your gardens based on the new moon / full moon / half moon. The way the stars is lined up, that's how you know how to plant your gardens or when you went to war or when to move. Number 33, do not practice foretelling the future by interpreting omens. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Number 34, do not practice sorcery. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Do not practice magic. All right, so that is in the Bible. This is number 35. Do not practice magic. So David Blaine is practicing magic. He's a demon. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Number 36. Do not practice witchcraft. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Number 37. Do not consult with demon spirits. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Number 38. Do not attempt to contact the dead. They know nothing. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10 through 11. Number 39. Women must not wear a man's holy garments. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. Number 40. Men must not wear a woman's holy garment. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. Number 41. Do not tattoo yourself. Leviticus 19, verse 28. 42. Do not wear holy garments made of both wool and linen. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 11. This does not apply. Okay? Although you could try and get it right, but in this society, it's almost impossible. They mix everything with all types of different stuff, even chemical stuff. So you could try if you like. Unless you're sewing your own stuff, then you can make it happen. You're rehearsing the righteous laws as well. So it's always good to make an effort. Number 43, do not shave the sides of your head in honor of the dead. Leviticus 19, verse 27. Number 44, do not shave the sides of your beard in honor of the dead. Leviticus 19, verse 27. Number 45, do not cut your bodies in honor of the dead. Leviticus 19, verse 28. That's clear. All right. Prohibitions against making allies with God-worshiping nations. And that's what we need to get into. Number 46, do not return to the ways of God worship and sin. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 16. This is what we need to do or stay away from. Number 47, do not follow teachings other than the laws of Yahawah taught by the house of Yahawah. Numbers chapter 15, verse 39. Number 48, do not make allies with God-worshiping nation who refuse to repent. Exodus chapter 34, verse 15. Number 49, do not share any of the God-worshiping nations who refuse to repent. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 16 through 18. Number 50, do not show mercy to the God-worshiping nations who refuse to repent. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2. 51, do not permit God-worshippers who refuse to repent to remain in the house of the Most High forever. Exodus 23, verse 32, 33. All right, you renting an apartment with someone who's not of the Most High, plan on getting out of there. Don't plan on living with that person forever. All right. Number 52, do not make marriages with God worshippers. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. A lot of you are in marriages already before coming into the truth, finding out who you are and finding out about God's law, statutes, and commandments, and then you look at your wife or your husband and they're not making the change, but you are. They're still in the world doing worldly things. So, being that it's a marriage, pray that that person will change and stick it out. If that person don't change, do not let that person corrupt you. Okay? And I'm not the divider of a marriage. I'm just telling you, if you want to follow the Most High to a T, do your best with that person. If that person chooses to lead based on what you believe, do not stop them. Okay? Number 53. Do not allow a God worshiper to join the house of Yahawah unless he repents. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 23 through 4. Number 54, do not abhor an Edomite who repents. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 7. And that had to be in the Old Testament. This does not apply. This was before King David. King David went to war with the Edomites after this was decreed. Okay? And then the rest of the scriptures talk about how Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that coming. So Esau is the end of the world. Okay? Everything you see right now is Edomized. Okay? Number 55, do not abhor an Egyptian who repents. In Deuteronomy 23, verse 7, a lot of y'all don't even know who Egyptians are. That never comes up. Those people who call themselves Egyptians are not the real Egyptians, but you can't even point to a real Egyptian today. You know, I mean, technically you really don't know who an Egyptian is, but you can tell that they're Hamitic by the way they look, but you pass them as other Hamitic races, pretty much. So Deuteronomy 23 and 7 applies to that. Number 56, do not have fellowship with the God worshiper who refuses to repent. Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 6. Number 57, do not destroy fruit trees. And guess what? This still applies. All right. Number 56, that still applies too. Number 57, do not destroy fruit trees. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 19. Number 58, do not fear the adversaries of Yahawah. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 21. Number 59, do not forget the evil done by the adversaries of Yahawah. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 19. And understand this, when it comes to the other nations will be in the kingdom, but it'll be those who acknowledge the Most High, the Son, and who the nation of Israel is. If they do not acknowledge all three, then guess what? They will not make it into the kingdom. And most people do not acknowledge the third as being Israel. So it's going to be a very, very sad day for the heathen during that day. Number 60, Only a few will make it. Only a few will make it. Just like Israel. Only a few will make it. All Israel's not going to make it. Only a few will make it, and that few will become the all. Okay. Number 60. Do not blaspheme the holy name of Yahawah, professing to keep Yahawah's laws, yet practicing sin. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 16. This is blasphemy. Okay, that's blasphemy. That's how you blaspheme his name, by not keeping his laws. Number 61. Do not break an oath or vow made in the name of Yahawah. Leviticus 19:12. Don't even make one at all if you have to. Number 62. Do not take Yahawah's name and bring it to nothing by hiding Yahawah's name and cause it to be forgotten. Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. His name is feared, so mention it. He says that in the last days, people will fear his name. So mention it. Let them fear. Number 63. Do not profane Yahawah's name. Leviticus chapter 22, verse 32. Number 64. And profane Yahawah's name and just use it loosely. Use it only when necessary. Use it when in a feast day, or when you're praying, or when you're confessing it to another brother, for edification. All right? Not to everybody, but just for edification. Number 64. Do not test Yahawah by doubting or rebelling. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. Number 65. Do not worship Yahawah in the ways of God worship. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 4. Number 66. Do not allow the body of one hanged to remain so overnight. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 22 through 23. That happened in this country. All right. Number 67. Do not neglect the duty of guarding the house of Yahawah. Numbers chapter 18, verse 4 through 5. Number 68. The high priest must not enter the Holy of Holies without the appropriate sacrifice. Leviticus 16:2. Of course, that does not apply. Number 69. A priest with a defect or blemish must not enter the Holy of Holies at all. Leviticus 21, verse 21 through 23. That does not apply. This time is establishing his kingdom right now. And he will decree who is who. Number 70. A priest with a defect or blemish must not come near to offer the food of the Most High. The food is actually the words of the Most High too. Alright? So, all you men out there teaching this word, you're offering the food of the Most High to the flock so they can eat. Alright, Leviticus 21 and 17. Number 71. A priest with a temporary blemish must not come near to participate in the service until it has healed. Leviticus chapter 21, verse 18. Number 72. The priest must not exchange their duties with their assistants, the Levites. Numbers chapter 18, verse 2 through 3. That does not apply. Number 73. The priest must not drink wine or strong drink before entering the inner court of the house of the Most High to perform their duties or to teach the law. Leviticus chapter 10, verse 9 through 11. So, all you men, if we're going to be a nation of priests, you cannot drink before teaching this word. You see these pastors in these churches with these alcohol flashes in their inner jacket. As soon as they get an intermission, they take a swig of it. That's not following the laws of the Most High. You're contaminating the scriptures and your words to the people. Alright. Number 74. No one other than priests may come near to minister to Yahawah. Numbers chapter 18, verse 4, verse 22. Number 75. The priest must not serve in the inner court of the house of Yahawah while ritually unclean. Leviticus chapter 22, verse 2 through 3. Number 76. The priest must not serve in the inner courts of the house of Yahawah until they have completed their purification. Leviticus chapter 22, verse 6 through 7. Number 77. Do not enter the inner court of the house of Yahawah while ritually unclean again. Numbers chapter 5, verse 3. Number 78. Do not fail to ritually purify by laundering, bathing, and going to the priest for atonement at the appointed time after becoming ritually unclean. Numbers chapter 19, verse 20. Leviticus chapter 17, verse 16. Number 79. Do not build an altar of cut stone Exodus chapter 20 and 25. Number 8, the priest must not go up to the altar by steps. Exodus chapter 20, verse 26. The priest must not go up to the altar by steps. Look at these churches. Number 81, the priest must not allow the fire on the altar to be extinguished. Leviticus chapter 6, verse 13. Number 82, the priest must not burn any unauthorized incense on the golden altar. Exodus chapter 30, verse 9. Number 83, do not make oil according to the holy anointing oil for use outside the house of Yahawah. Exodus chapter 30, verse 31, 33, that does not apply. Anytime it talks about us going into the house of the Most High, if it's not talking about the spiritual house, then it's talking about the physical house. And if it's the spiritual house, I'll let you know. The holy anointing, this is number 84. The holy anointing oil must not be misused. Exodus 30 and 32. Back then they used to take an oil and they put all these different ointments and spices and stuff in it. And only the high priest and the priest can do that. And right now, our high priest is in the heavens. And we don't have a house to do this. So this does not apply. Number 85, do not make incense according to the formula of the holy incense for personal use. Exodus 30, verse 37. So do not try this at home, folks. Okay. Number 86, do not remove the poles from the Ark of the Covenant. Exodus chapter 25, verse 15. Why do I say do not try this at home? Because it'll backfire on you. Whatever you see in the scriptures that they did back then, and they were commanded either by angel or by Yahawashi or by Most High, it was authorized by the Most High. But if you do it, it could backfire. It bring demons in your house. You don't want demons in your house. All right? Everything will work against you. You'll be going against your grain. Number 86. Do not remove the poles from the Ark of the Covenant. Exodus 25 and 15 does not apply. Number 87. Do not remove the high priest's breastplate from the ephod. Exodus chapter 28, verse 28 does not apply. Number 88. Do not make the holy garments improperly so that they tear. Exodus chapter 28, verse 32. If you got a rip in your garment, try to get a new one. Do not use that torn garment representing the Most High. He wants his men and women to be on point. Okay? You're a representation of him. All right. Number 89. Let's go to the sacrifices and holy tithes and offerings, which do not apply. Pretty much everything I'm about to read right now does not apply. Do not offer sacrifices or tithes and offerings except to the house of the Most High, Deuteronomy 12:13. Number 90, do not offer consecrated animals except to the house of the Most High, Leviticus chapter 17 and 3. Number 91, do not sanctify a blemished animal as an offering to the Most High, Leviticus chapter 22 and 20, 22, 24. Number 92, do not slaughter a blemished animal as an offering to the Most High, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 22. Number 93, do not sprinkle the blood of a blemished animal on the altar of Yahawah, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 19 through 24. Number 94, do not burn the sacrifices or sacrificial portions of a blemished animal on the altar, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 22. Number 95, do not offer an animal with even a temporary blemish, Deuteronomy 17:1. 96, number 96. Do not accept a blemish offering from a stranger, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 25. Number 97. Do not inflict a blemish on an animal consecrated as an offering, Leviticus chapter 22, verse 21. 98, number 98. Do not offer any leaven or honey on the altar, Leviticus chapter 2, verse 11. Number 99, do not offer a sacrifice without salt, Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13. Number 100, do not bring the financial gain from the God worship into the house of the Most High, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 18. So at the 100 mark,